Welcome to Sputnik, orbiting the world with me, George Galloway.
And me, Gayatri.
The former peace envoy, Tony Blair, once told me, mano a mano, that if he could, he would invade Burma, and Zimbabwe too for that matter. Now he's working for the very same Burmese junta he was ready in 2003 to invade and topple. A gig with Robert Mugabe cannot be far behind. Mr. Blair, just appointed to head the campaign in Europe against racism and anti-Semitism, has had nothing to say about the murderous racist rampage being conducted by his new friends in Burma.
And neither has Aung San Suu Kyi, the darling of liberals throughout the world as a result of her persecution by the junta. And not a single Muslim government, busy killing each other in other parts of the world, has lifted a finger to stop the genocide against the Rohingya Muslims.
Ramadan this month for them will be spent trying to avoid the knives of murderers or in the hold of listing ships threatening to take them to a watery grave. Joining us now to discuss the crisis is Mr. Tun Khin, President of the Burmese Rohingya organization in the UK. Tun, tell us just how bad is the situation for the Rohingya now?
Well, it's very shocking, it's very tragic moment we are facing in our own country. You can see 8,000 Rohingya people are floating in high sea without food and water. They were floating at high sea more than 6 days. And media is looking at only 8,000 people floating at high sea. But international community like US government, UK, EU governments, they have to look at behind the scene. More than 1.3 million Rohingyas are facing genocide in their own land. That's why these people are fleeing. This is what the situation they are facing. That's why current crisis, Rohingya refugees are fleeing from Burma. That's what these Rohingya refugees are,
That's why they're on the high seas.
Yes.
And the focus mustn't be on those countries that will or will not let them in, because the reason they're on the high seas in the first place is because their own countrymen are murdering them.
Yes.
And the government of that country is tacitly encouraging it, surely.
Yes, they are encouraging, they are investing there, and they are looking at, Telenor, like Norway, telephone company like US, governments, investors there. They are not looking at human rights. They are investing there, and only they just talking about human rights. But there is no such, taking action, practical action for it.
I don't know if you were in Britain at the time, but there used to be a lot of human rights stories about Burma when Aung San Suu Kyi was the victim of human rights abuses. She became such a personality, she won the Nobel Prize. Why are they ignoring the plight of more than 1 million Rohingyas? Does it have anything to do with the fact that they're Muslim?
Yes, particularly if you look at the Rohingya issue, Rohingyas are facing ethnic, religious, and political persecution. And this is man-made tragedy. The government designed it to eliminate, to wipe out or to wipe out the Rohingya from Arkhana state. This is the government policy. You can see the situation, how international legal experts are saying facing genocide in this issue. And Aung San Suu Kyi, she's just silent. She's not speaking up. Last week, we had a conference in Oslo, 7 Nobel Prize winners speaking up about the situation of Rohingya and calling to end systematic persecution of the Rohingya, which amounts to genocide. But until today, she's not speaking at all.
Now, I know why she's not speaking up, because she's a hypocrite, and I always knew that she was. I always knew she was a wrong one, even when all the other liberals were fawning over her. But What can you say about those Western governments that were once upon a time part of a bloc against the junta? Mr. Blair even told me, as I said in my introduction, that he would, if he could, invade and topple them in Burma. Now they're working for them and doing business with them. That must make your blood boil.
This is unbelievable. This is very shocking. And Mr. Blair been 2-3 times in Burma, as far as we seen in medias, but we didn't see any, public statement from his office why he was there and what he raised about human rights issue, particularly Rohingya genocide issue. Whether he raised or not, we never know. I don't think he raised anything at all, and he was there. And we have seen, Napier with the top-level government's people, he was speaking up there. So
no,
what we can see is
he's been meeting all the top people in the regime, and I can assure you he would not have been concerned about the Rohingya, although he's the head of a faith foundation, and now he's the European envoy against racism and anti-Semitism and xenophobia. Now, xenophobia is the real reason for the Burmese persecution of the Rohingya, because they want to be ethnically pure Burmese. They don't want to accept the Rohingya as being Burmese on racial grounds. Am I right?
Yes, definitely, that's right.
And many people are puzzled. People in the West think of Buddhists as peaceful people who meditate and chant and are kind to animals and so on. But they're not kind to their own compatriots, the Rohingya. Is this a Buddhist thing, or is it a Burmese nationalist thing, or is it both?
I should say it's nationalist first, and that's the way the government applied. The government have been using many decades, brainwashed to the Burmese people that Rohingyas are not exist in this country. They are illegal immigrants. You can see how they manipulate their top level. Top level, what I mean is President Thein Sein, with his own words, he mentioned that these Rohingyas are not citizens of Burma. They are illegal immigrants. The only solution is keeping them in camps and sending them to the third countries. That is what he mentioned in 11 July 2012 to UNHCR High Commissioner. So as a top level, they are spreading up the words as an anti-Rohingya campaigning is very stronger. And also, as if you look at a background of in Burma, nationalism is long time there, but the government is playing a key role currently. They are, after President Thein Sein government came to power, anti-Rohingya campaign become stronger. As a result of that, you can see 2012, a state-organized ethnic cleansing or genocide happened in Arakan state, and thousands of Rohingya were killed, and hundreds of women were raped, new apartheid system introduced, and pushing 140,000 Rohingya IDPs, internally displaced persons in IDP camps, and blocking aid. And he is telling that whether you want to stay in camps without food or you want to leave the country. He given us two options to the Rohingyas. That's why they are leaving from.
What about the ASEAN community, the Southeast Asian communities? I understand that only Malaysia and Indonesia have received some of the migrants who fled, but only for 1 year. How have the rest of the regional governments responded?
Well, it's very disturbing, it's very disappointing. They are talking, they're giving shelter for 1 year and so on, these things. But it's not the issue. The issue is why these people are fleeing from the country. Why these people are fleeing from the country.
How are the ASEAN governments towards the Burmese?
Can't they put pressure on the Burmese government?
We've been seeing many times, they talk about it a lot, but they never go as a practical action. Sometimes we have seen that they used to say it's an internal problem. Their internal problem, we can't interfere it. But it's become as a regional problem now. You can see 29th of May, they had a meeting. The meeting was ended up very surprisingly ended up, they want to tackle human traffickers and these issues. It's not the point. They have to tell the Burmese government, you have to treat your own ethnic Rohingya people as a human way, you know. You have to get on to restore their ethnic rights and citizenship rights. Otherwise, you will face serious consequences. This is the message they have to them. 1.3 million people are facing this genocide, and no one is speaking up at all.
And it's been declared, as you say, the Burmese junta has declared it, that we will starve you in camps or we will stampede you out of the country. You can die one way or the other.
Yes.
It's coming up to Ramadan. What do the Muslim governments of the world have to say about this? Can't they lift a finger to help their co-religionists in Burma?
Well, we haven't seen that much action from them also. Organization of Islamic Cooperation, they're raising the issue all the time. And the point here is we need to see collective action. Organization of Islamic Cooperation, US government, ASEAN, European Union have to come together to find a solution. Legal experts are already mentioned this is genocide. Denying the right to have citizenship, denying the right to have medical treatment, denying the right to have food, denying the right to have education, denying the right to have child, creating a state-sponsored violence against Rohingya and pushing them to the camps. And more than 140,000 Rohingya become IDPs, and the blocking of aid, and then they are asking you whether you want to live starving to death in these camps or you live from the country. This is the clearly genocide that you can see what's happening.
It's as clear as any example in recent times.
We appeal international community, they need to act before too late.
Yeah, it's the devil or the deep blue sea. Tun, thanks for coming on board.
Thank you so much.
Sputnik.